Welcome, welcome, everybody. We are here on the link. It is Tuesday, and as usual, honey, we are coming to you with all of the good news. Because we're fabulous. I want to give a shout out to APLA Health and Pyro Media, the sponsors for our show and this wonderful experience that you give to have with us. Yes. And also shout out to CDC because without them, honey, this would not be possible, okay? Because what? They foot the bill. That's right. Well, as you know, I am your favorite prevention training specialist, your boy Daniel J. I will let my co-hosts introduce their wonderful selves, starting with Kai.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kai Smith. I am program coordinator for our CDC-funded youth programs at Healthy Him, and I also oversee our Swab and Chill program. Hi. I'm also leaving earlier today.
First of all, Kai, your lighting is gorgeous. It's so fluorescent. I am Ty, your outreach coordinator for APLA Health. Let me know where you all are hanging out at appropriately, of course, because I need to know where we need to be putting up flyers for our services. So inbox me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rogelio. I'm your program coordinator of Trans Connections. That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, the faces beat. We are here to talk about it. We're going to get into our first segment of the show. As you know, we always start the show with what's poppin', honey. And I have an article piece that I really want y'all's opinion on. So, how many of you remember or know the rapper Exhibit?
Exhibit, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So Exhibit has been under fire these last few weeks because he recently came out with a cannabis company called Napalm, which was actually named after an album that he had called Napalm. And he's doing a whole cannabis marketing campaign about it. He's got like special packaging that looks like little grenades. And honey, the people felt a certain type of way. They say that in the midst of South Asian hate, napalm is a reminder of the chemical warfare weaponry that was used not only in World War II, but in the Vietnam War. And so they're asking him to change the name of his company, which at this point is kind of not possible, being that everything has been branded. He did do a video, I believe it was on Instagram, where he addressed it and he let people know that this is in no way, you know, a diss to the Asian community, that it is part of my artistry. You know, he had an album called Wars of Devastation or something like that. And then, of course, the album called Napalm.
I think it was called like Weapons of Devastation.
Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Yeah, because he had that one song on there that was on the radio and we ain't heard him since. So go ahead, yeah.
So
I remember that.
What do you guys think about that? Do you feel that cancel culture is at play in this, or do you feel like people have a legit reason for asking him to change the name?
So I'm going to tread lightly with this because I am not of the Asian community, but I do respect and honor them and feel for what they're going through right now. I think that when it comes to things like this specifically, instead of putting yourself in the line of fire, people need to start investing in, I want to call them cancel culture, like liaisons. Like there's so much going on in the world and so much stuff on social media. We're seeing like clapbacks from people with comments and stuff like that. I think that people need to start investing in people that will avoid these things. Like, your team is not enough anymore. I think that with cancel culture, with it being so broad, your team is just not enough to get you out of certain situations like this. You need to bring in someone that's neutral that will understand, like, hey, that might not be a good idea because of X, Y, and Z. I think that some of these people like Exhibit, who I didn't even know was still around, was not saying like he passed or anything like that. I thought he moved or did something overseas. With people
he
like
moved
that,
to
you
the
kind of have
cannabis
to.
company.
There we go. Look at that.
With
with people like that, you kind of have to have people around you that aren't just the team that you came up with. Because it's really hard to expect the team of people that you come up with as a rapper or an artist to kind of evolve with the times. They're so focused on your career and what you're doing and how you're paying their bills and feeding their kids. They're not realizing that the world is changing around you. Like, I wouldn't even have titled a album Weapons of Mass Destruction, just in general, because it incites, violence and terroristic activity. But that's just me. You need to have people on your team that give a damn about what you're putting out, as opposed to saying, Exhibit, that's dope, put that out. I ain't never heard that before. Not saying that that's what his team sounds like. That's just what straight men in my mind sound
In
like.
your
That's the
head.
word I use.
Rahelia,
Yeah.
what do you think about the situation?
I think it's for sure a tricky one, because I think it's one of those situations where I could kind of see that it's less, I don't know, it feels a bit like a reach. I don't want to overstep and say anything, because I don't know if napalm in specifics is something that's like very commonly referenced, but I don't think it's anywhere near the same as like using a racial slur or like a word that's otherwise insensitive to the community. It's just kind of making a reference to a weapon that was used in a very, in a war that was very, very violent towards the Vietnamese people. So I think, I don't know, it's one of those cases that I'm like, I'd like to hear from like the Asian community to see what the conversations are having. Just because at first when you brought it up, I was like, what? How does that have anything to do with Stop Asian Hate? But then after you were like, oh, because napalm was used in the Vietnam War, I was like, oh, okay. But then I still take a step back and I'm like, but why is it, it's not like it's specifically hateful to the Asian community. It's like referencing just a weapon of war that, was used in a war against an Asian country. So I think it's complicated, and I'd like to hear like the Asian perspective on it to maybe get a more nuanced opinion. But it is one of those cases where I think, everybody's going to get mad over something. You can make a reference. We could talk about Lil Nas X like we did last week on the show. And like, everybody can get offended by like the smallest things. So I think it's about being mindful and just how you respond to it that really matters.
I will say that in reading the comments, like looking at the comments of people, and even in this video and in the article that I was able to watch or to read rather, a lot of the comments and a lot of the "this is horrible, this is problematic" comes from older white women. Like I didn't see a lot of the Asian community commenting or posting about it, which was interesting for me to read. I was just like, okay, Kai, what about you?
It's one of those things where like there's actual violence and discrimination going on right now. Like I don't think that napalm is a thing that is, at the top of everybody, especially the Asian activists on the ground. I don't think that's what they're concerned about. I think they're concerned about stopping the discrimination, racism, and hate crimes that are going on. So yeah.
And Kai, before you go, I want to say one thing. White women get upset about everything but white men. Go ahead, Kai.
We should get upset about white women as well. But so I think this is one kind of like Rahelia was saying, this is a tricky situation. I think this is really bad timing on X's part. He didn't make this in the last month, right? This is probably years and years and years of branding, of all of that stuff. So I think it's an unfortunate, like, that's just really, really, that's an unfortunate. As for kind of what to do with it, once again, like Rahelia said, I'm not in the Asian community, so I can't speak for the Asian community. I can say one thing I think that might be helpful is, he didn't make that public comment and kind of clarify things, which I think clarification is a huge thing. Because, it could have been easy for him to kind of like go off and like, well, F you all, I'm just doing my true blah, blah. He's like, I didn't mean it like that way. I understand where you're getting it, but that's not what I meant. So I think that's important. And if he wants to go a step further, he can even, use some of that money that he's going to be getting from it, donate it to an Asian cause, right? Like really, and kind of what Ty was saying is people need to get PR people again. I think that's what it is, because everyone is using their friends or whatever to respond. Like get a good PR person, really kind of prepare you for stuff like this. And I think that's kind of what X could do. It is unfortunate that, that name is kind of tied to a really, really horrible kind of war on America's part. We caused the war, it was bad. But I don't think, and this is from me, not an Asian person, and obviously that's problematic to say, is I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I haven't seen a large Asian community uproar on that. So, but I can understand why people would be upset, and I think him addressing it is a really good step.
It's one of those things where I feel like PR wouldn't have even caught it, like, because I feel like it's such a kind of like, like it doesn't have to do with Asian discrimination in the United States. It has to do with like a foreign war that happened however many 60 years ago at this point, right? So yeah, it's a tricky situation all around for sure.
I definitely think that I hear what everyone's saying about the PR person. I definitely feel like in the culture that we're in today, even a PR person is really not going to help, because anything can pop up and be like, that's problematic to me, that's problematic to so and so, and any subject. I do appreciate him for addressing it in the video and also letting people know that his body of work has been, kind of in today's
graphic.
It's an aggressive
politics problematic, but
Yeah.
it's very on brand. But Kai, I know you had some things that you wanted to bring up for what's popping. So what you got for us?
Yeah. So first thing is kind of along the same lines, but in a really darker kind of turn. I mean, darker kind of turn. If everyone hasn't seen this past weekend, DMX unfortunately was hospitalized for a drug overdose. As of right now, from what I've seen for about a day ago, he's still in a vegetative state. It looks like there might be some serious brain damage that comes along with this. So it's kind of up in the air. And I bring this conversation is obviously, we all love a lot of DMX's music, but I think this is a really good conversation to have about substance use, right? And especially when we talk about substance use for people who are in the music industry, and DMX in particular, his story of substance use is so kind of, I don't want to say common, but a story that you hear often for people who are kind of unwillingly addicted to substances. The first time he ever used like hardcore was because someone he looked up to, provided him a blunt that was laced with, I believe it was crystal meth at the time. And that kind of triggered his kind of downward spiral into substance use. And I think it's a really good conversation to have about substance use, because a lot of times people hear these overdose stories and the first thing they think of is like, that's what they get, they're just using whatever. And there's so much more to it. And you know how I always say we need to stop looking up to celebrities, but we should also recognize they're human. And I think a lot of the conversation I've seen the extreme of this is what he gets, it's a long time coming, to people like really saying like, this is so unfortunate. I wish someone would have been there to help him. And I want to hear what everyone else's take on this, if you have heard anything about it.
I think that to your point earlier, well, you just said some people are commenting saying this is what he gets, it's a long time coming. People are funny to me because that's not your call. So many times people have so many different opinions about what they see people do on not social media, but just in general. And like you said, DMX's first run-in with substances, I think it was laced with crack, if I'm not mistaken. I think I read that it was laced with crack. But also the environment that DMX came from, I watched one of his documentaries, and it kind of made sense that, this was his coping mechanism. He had a very, very rough life. I don't know. It's interesting. When we have the drug conversation, I feel like so many people watching, and I've been on our substance abuse programs, so many people watching get this entitlement or this exemptness of that won't happen to me because I know my dealer and I know my dosage and blah, 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 blah. Mac Miller was a self-made millionaire and still died from a fentanyl overdose. Mm-hmm. You working at Target are not exempt. So it's one of those things, like the conversation really irritates me because you get so many people that are, I'll just speak about within my community. So many people that are within my community that speak so negatively about the people that, like you said, are human and overdose or get caught up in something or have these moments of, I don't even want to call them weakness, moments of struggle where it's like, that'll never happen to me. That'll never happen to me. You are not exempt from that. If you are watching that, you're not exempt from that. Your drugs are not more qualified, quote unquote, than the next person's drugs. It can easily have happened to you. And all these people commenting about, he was doing drugs and he was doing X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 are the same people that'll go out and do drugs and it'll happen to them and we get this long GoFundMe message about how they can't afford their hospital bills. Learn from this situation as opposed to judging it. I think that that's what we need to do as a society with everything that comes up now. You have to kind of learn from people's experiences instead of being one of those people that's like, oh, that won't be my son, that won't be me, that won't be my brother. Learn from these experiences instead of judging. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Rogelio,
and I just want to, before you go, I want to do a quick plug.
No, I'm kidding. No, go ahead.
Next week, I'm actually going to be singing. We're going to have basically what we had last week, and we're going to have a substance use takeover. So this is a really good primer. So if you want more information about substance use, join us next week. I'll be there too. So, Rogelio, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely just think that I agree with everything that Ty said. I think that we need to start treating drug issues as a public health issue and not this like moral, issue where like, it's your fault and it's your problem and you should have never done it. And I would have never even touched drugs. So, or it was a gateway drug. You shouldn't have, all these things, right? And I think that we really have to start thinking about the world around us. There's so many people with substance abuse issues, so many people within our communities. The trans community has a big issue with substance use, the queer community, a big issue with substance use. And so I think it's important to think that, all of these factors don't just happen out of nowhere. Like substance use is a public health issue and it needs to be addressed as such. And I think I'm also reminded of just like the stuff that happens with Demi Lovato too. Like she recently put out a music video, I think, or a video just detailing her experiences with drug use. And like, it still blows my mind that every single time she talks about it, the comments are just full of people making fun of her.
Terrible comments.
Joke out of it. Yeah. Like, it's horrible. And like, yeah, I just think that we need to also, like Kai said, grant people, especially celebrities, the space to be human, Like, a lot of us think, oh, well, they're rich. Like the things that are said online don't affect them. But like, we also don't know what it's like having like millions and millions of followers like those people and getting inundated every single day with negative messages about the worst moments of your life. And so I think it's important to, look at both sides of the issue because yes, maybe they have access to a lot of resources that we don't, but they also have to deal with a lot of social pressures and isolation that a lot of people who aren't as rich and famous as them will never understand. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the substance use team has to say next week, for sure.
I definitely think that, well, first and foremost, I'm praying that DMX gets better. Like I'm hoping that he pulls through this. I mean, I know we've seen reports that said, there's a light brain activity, which could mean a litany of things. But unpopular opinion, I definitely feel like people, fans, whomever, we don't know celebrities at all. We don't. And DMX has been very public with his, if you want to call it a struggle with drugs, with his addiction and just the whole thing, like from Ella Van Zant to him running naked through a hotel room. I think what concerns me, aside from the fact that we do need to take addiction and substance abuse more seriously and make it, like Rahel said, a public health issue, but I also would like for the fans to stop with the shockware of it all. This is not shocking for someone who we know is dealing with a substance abuse issue. And that's the part of the realism that I think that fandom kind of needs a little bit more of. We spend so much time glorifying this lifestyle, glorifying, sex, drugs, and money. Well, wake up call. This is the reality of that. It's not all rainbows and unicorns and glitter. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there needs to be a much deeper conversation between not only substance abuse, but how celebrities and how fans take what we see and try to make it a lifestyle and live this fantasy. That's not realistic, and in most cases, for most communities, very, very dangerous. But at the end of the day, I don't know DMX personally. I know what we see. I know what we've heard in his music. I appreciate what he's done for hip hop and the music industry. And my prayers definitely go out to him and his family because, again, we all know, I know dealing with someone who has substance abuse issues, it affects more than just the one person. You're dealing with a ripple effect of things. But because we want to be mindful of our time, it's time for that good old commercial break, honey. So we're going to go to commercial and we're going to let you yet again know about how you can get involved with what? Swab and Jill. That's right. A cute little black box that you can buy to your home, honey, so that you can know your HIV status. It's in the comfort of your own home. So we'll be right back with our main topic. Spring has sprung right after this.
Hey guys, Ty here from APLA Health, and I got some good news for you.
APLA Health is launching our first ever at-home HIV testing initiative.
As we battle the global pandemic of COVID-19 and all that it entails,
APLA Health is doing what we can to fill the gaps for those who are in need of knowing their status, linking to care, and having safer sex options.
The initiative, officially known as Swab and Chill, will be our virtual hub for those seeking to take an HIV test, receive HIV kits, link into medical care for those who are HIV positive, while also having access to several other programs and services that specialize in harm reduction for HIV infection.
Such services include PrEP and PEP information, as well as substance abuse services. Our goal with Swab and Chill is to make HIV testing easily accessible and easy to use within the comfort of your own home.
We provide each client with the Aura Quick at-home testing kit. This kit is a simple test that is done by orally swabbing the gums and waiting 20 minutes for your results.
APLA staff is available to virtually assist you while taking the test, while providing resources and support for those who may test positive.
Maybe you already know your status and you're just low on condoms and lube due to accessibility. No problem. We can also send you one of our safer sex kits right to your front door.
As we strive to keep our community safer and well-informed, your privacy is also a high priority.
All packaging will appear from APLA Health. Our over-the-phone assessments are quick, easy, and secure, so you can feel safe in sharing your results with us and asking any questions that you may have.
If you or someone that you know is interested in having one of our at-home testing kits mailed to you, or you just want more information on what Swab and Chill can provide, please call one of our team members at 323-329-9713, or just email us.
Come swab and chill with 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 us. And we are back, honey. Yes, come swab and chill with us. We're going to get into our main topic. Do you want to take a few minutes or a few seconds and let people know about our trans-specific swab and chill boxes that they now can receive?
Yeah, for sure. So Trans Connections has been working really hard behind the scenes to kind of, add some, little additional items to the Swab and Chill box. And so now we are offering a few additional items besides what usually comes in Swab and Chill. So you can get not only Trans Connection specific swag, so like, our little hand sanitizers, face masks, that whole thing. But you can also get more specific items for trans masc or trans femme people. So we have makeup available, and even other like trans masc people have still, chosen to get the makeup just because they want to explore their feminine side or something. So thanks to our, people at MAC Cosmetics, we're able to give over $100 worth of free makeup to folks in Swab and Chill boxes. And we're also working on getting some essential materials like binders for trans masc folks who want to, hide their breasts. And also other additional things like clothing that we can include for trans femme people, especially those who are more on the go. So yeah, we definitely have a lot more coming with that. So it's super exciting.
Awesome sauce. Well, shout out to Trans Connections, honey, because they are doing the work out in these streets, okay? Brihelio, Mallory, Skylar, okay? Melissa? Okay, I almost.
Well, she's on the trans support team.
Yeah,
she's working to expand our services. Yeah.
But we're going to get into this main topic, honey. Spring has me sprung. We are talking, what the hell are we doing now that the city is opening back up, states are opening back up? Well, if you lived in Atlanta, I don't feel like it ever closed. No shade to Atlanta.
Or Florida.
Right.
Or Florida. But we're here to talk about, what are we looking forward to? What are we afraid of? What is life going to be like in this, yet again, transition into a brand new normal? And Ty, I kind of want to start with you. How do you feel about this whole reopening of things?
Well, one, I thought that this segment was about how horny I've been, so I'll shit. Let's go this way.
I mean, how horny have you been? Is sex on the list of things to do?
Very.
Sounds like you're something else has sprung.
Right. That's what I thought this was about. So no, I definitely have. I mean, we've been watching the news and stuff like that. We've been seeing the tiers and stuff, and how the gyms can open up and all that good stuff. I think that it's really, really nice to see. I mean, this is also coming from someone who's fully vaccinated. So I'm going out into the world, double mask still, but without like that fear of the unknown, which I think is amazing for me because I'm a worry ward, right? But I like the idea of, everything slowly opening back up. I mean, I drove past WeHo a couple of days ago, and you see people online trying to enjoy time with their friends. I will say the pandemic has saved me a lot of money. Now, and the reason why I say that is because we live in LA. So there are events, especially pre-COVID, there were events like every other weekend. You were going out to the club. It was about $30 to get in. The drinks are a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, right? So I saved a lot of money during the process of that. So the only thing I really came out of COVID-19 knowing was, one, that I don't need to go out. I'm not a big person that goes out anyway. Y'all all know me on this panel. If you invite me to something twice, I probably won't come. If you invite me 4 times, I may show up. But it's like, not only have I realized, that I've saved a lot of money, I also realized, like, I was going to events hosted and thrown by people that I don't particularly care for. And I think had COVID not happened, I wouldn't have known that. So now I'm in this space where, like, I love the fact that the gyms are opening back up. And I love the fact that restaurants are opening back up. We get to sit and see each other and have conversation and stuff like that now. Are we moving too quick? I don't think so. I think we're going at a pretty good pace. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, Atlanta's been open. Florida ain't never closed. So it's kind of like us getting back to that small, like, we can kind of go out and sit out and do things. It excites me a little bit. And I have to go shopping again because I don't have anything cute to wear.
That part.
Boy, all you wear is sweatsuits as is. Anytime you go somewhere.
But even those like Regina George or Mean Girls, sweatpants are all that fits me right now. Even those are kind of like getting to this space where it's kind of like I need to redo my entire wardrobe now. But I'm excited for things being open and stuff like that. I am.
So I have a question for you because you mentioned, gyms are being opened, in the pandemic, the panorama, the Pandarosa, whatever you want to call it. It has definitely taught all of us a few things. But do you feel like in this wave of new normal, Ty, that you're going to slowly but surely get back to going to events that you don't necessarily want to go to, hosted by people that you like?
Probably not, because now, and the only reason I say probably
because now you're aware.
Right, as I talk to you and I see on the news in front of me, full reopening on June 15th, right? I'm thinking that I can't guarantee that this pandemic taught people how to maneuver safely. I can't guarantee that. I can only speak for myself and my household, right? And I don't know if I'm fully comfortable being in a space that I really don't have to be at with people that I can't guarantee took the pandemic as serious as the rest of us. And that's not me looking down at anybody or looking at anyone side. I am looking at people sideways because, okay, so our associate director, Dante Morrison, owns a shirt that says, even when the pandemic is over, I still want some people to stay away from me. That is my motto from 2021 up until 2031. I don't want to be in spaces that are not completely necessary for me to be in. That's just me. That's just me.
Kai, what about you? What are some things that you're looking forward to? What are some things that you're still trying to stay away from?
So I'm staying away from basically almost everything, but that's me. I'm on the opposite end of Ty. Same reasoning. I know how I am, but my health right now, I'm willing to risk it. But I do want to, one thing I think to do is kind of let everyone know. So we're going into orange tier, so we're not like a full reopen. Hey, Rogelio.
Hey.
But
not yet, but we did. I promise you. I just saw on the news, Governor Newsom was sitting right there and it said full reopening, June 15th. I'm like, won't be seeing y'all.
But until then, things to know then for restaurants, most restaurants are going to be open at 50% capacity or less than 200 people. For bars, you can go to a bar as long as it's outside and there has to be 8 feet away. Always wear your mask unless you're eating or drinking, no live performances. For breweries and wineries, so this is a little bit different too. Indoor capacity at 25% or 100 people. Let's see, movie theaters are now at 50%, 200 or 200 people, whichever sooner. Gyms, fitness centers open, indoor capacity at 24.5%. Still wearing the mask. Indoor pools are open. And then lastly, museums and zoos, indoors at 50%. For me, right now, I don't think I'm ready. And
Right.
and this is just purely based off of, we're still working on people getting vaccinated. And we know starting next week in California, at least, everyone 16 and up is eligible for a vaccination, which is great. And I think once we start really seeing that, but until I can see physical proof that there is a herd immunity going on, I'm not ready. And I am just worried about my health. Even though, yes, I am fully vaccinated, I still am just not ready. Even when I go out, like, because I'm trying to slowly reintroduce myself. I went out to the park last weekend or the weekend before, and there were people there, and I felt anxiety, right? And I think it's because I haven't been around people that I haven't known in over a year. And so it was like, so
People are nasty.
that's one thing that I'm really trying to process with myself. Like when I have to do stuff, really kind of get myself to like, there's a little bit more protection, a little bit more. You don't have to live in fear, but I'm not ready. And that's just me.
Well, honey, I haven't been to a public pool since I was like 7. That's not going to change because, I can't say that I feel one way or the other about reopening. I don't trust people. Well, let me say this. I trust people to be people. And I know that the majority of people sometimes can be really stupid and really careless. And so that's what I trust for the folks to be in Los Angeles. I wasn't really one to go out and party, especially not in my 30s. Now, if you caught me in my teens and 20s, honey, she was out. Okay, she was on the top. I ain't never paid $30 to get into a club tie, and I know you ain't neither. So I don't know what that's about.
I have.
Oh, never in my life.
But I also go to straight bars, and it's weird. Like straight bars, they charge cisgender men more to get in than anything else. So where girls will pay $15, I paid $30 to get in, but the DJ was lit though.
Yeah, I've never. But I do. It's just a caution thing for me. Like I don't really go a lot of places unless it's, for business or for, my brand or whatever the case may be. I may go to a friend's house and hang out. Like going out to eat was a big thing pre-COVID for me. Like me and my friends always went somewhere to eat. So I do kind of miss being inside the building. Because when you want to go like at night to a nice little restaurant, that little outside breeze is not always cute, and they don't always sit you next to a good piece of fire. Okay,
that's true. Some people don't have it,
Rahelia, what about you? Is there anything that you're looking forward to? Is there anything that you're just really cautious about as we kind of reopen and into this new transitional new normal?
For sure. First of all, sorry, Spectrum be acting up, so I'm back on my cellular data. Right.
Don't I know it?
Right. But anyway, I think that I'm kind of with Kai on this. I kind of feel like I kind of side-eye the people who are first in line as soon as, restaurants or anything else opens back up, because I'm just like, girl, you're feeling that confident that, just because they say it's open doesn't mean you have to necessarily take advantage of it. Right. And I especially am trying to be mindful because I know that my parents, because my parents, they've gotten their first vaccine, but they haven't gotten their second. And honestly, that's my biggest fear, is just bringing home COVID to my parents. Because, I'm pretty confident I'll be fine. I mean, you can't be 100% on these things. I know somebody at my high school who unfortunately passed away from COVID. But it's still one of those things that, like, it's not necessarily for me. It's about taking the risk on the behalf of the people I'm going to be around, and whether it's worth it or not. I actually just recently went out for one of the first times in God knows how long, this past weekend. I went to the beach. It was just with a friend. So like I didn't feel necessarily unsafe, but it was one of those moments where like we were sitting on a bench and then there were these little kids playing around who didn't have a mask on. And we kept on screaming like 6 pies, 6 feet, just because it's like, wow, like, you can't trust anybody around you, which is the thing that Daniel was saying. It's like, you can be as safe as possible. I know you're taking every precaution, but if you're, interacting with somebody out of, coincidence that isn't taking those same precautions, that's all it takes. So yeah, I feel kind of iffy about it opening up. I feel like Newsom has kind of jumped to open up a little quickly on a few cases, which ended up biting us in the ass as Californians. So I'm just kind of, playing it by ear, seeing what makes me feel comfortable. But honestly, as soon as my parents get their second vaccine, I'll probably be, a little bit more loosened up, because I'm also eager to go out, especially since I started transitioning right before COVID hit. I'm just like, you know, now I have my curls. I have all these new clothes I'm trying to wear. And like, I'm tired of getting pretty to just sit in the house. So.
And do the link, right?
Right.
Right.
I'll definitely say really, really quickly as a moment of transparency. I know when I can be out, when I don't have that anxiety of someone being too close. I was in an elevator over the weekend, and a girl gets on, and it's not like she coughed, like it was like, oh, I'm sorry, I coughed. It was more so one of those things where she kind of sat there and leaned up against the elevator wall and was just like, and
so one of my coughs.
right. But I know you. I had the urge to hit her in the face, and when that goes away, I will know that I am okay to be outside. Until then, because had I not been going to the second floor, she'd probably still be up in there.
You know, I understand the angst with people sneezing and coughing, but I do think that it is very hilarious that the small coughs that we would have done pre-COVID, the sneezes that we would have had pre-COVID are now like this death sentence. Like, people are afraid to cough. They're afraid.
Okay, wait. Clarification too, though. I will say, prior to COVID hitting as hard as it did in March of 2019 or 2020, we were in a conference room in a meeting, and everybody, it was flu season, so people were coughing and they were sneezing. I will throw that out there before people watch this. It's like, why would you hit her in the face? I had my mask on then too. And people had felt like it was a little disrespectful, but I'm thinking to myself, I ain't got no damn sick time, so I'm not going to be getting sick, losing out on my money because you can't stay home because you got the flu. Granted, didn't know it was COVID. I'm glad everybody's doing better now. But like Daniel mentioned, people are going to be people. I am not suffering consequences from people that don't know how, that think less than smart. How about that? That's the best that I can do.
I think for me, one of the biggest kind of lessons, and it's not even a lesson, it's like, it's one of these things we know. We're just gross. Humans are so yucky.
Disgusting. People are trash. They are trash.
And for me, I think one of the things I'm taking with me is I'm going to walk out of this lockdown, if you will, when I re-enter to the world. Even now, my hand washing has gotten so great. And I didn't realize my not great. I mean, it wasn't bad before I was washing my hands, but now my hand washing is on a different level. I wash my hands like at my cubicle. I write on my little whiteboard, have you had any water? Have you washed your hands? I do this. And I really hope people are taking this hand washing and hand sanitizer seriously for the long term, and that it's not something that we forget once we stop shoving it down people's throats. Because the day I watch someone walk out of the bathroom without washing my hands, I think I'm gonna break down. Like, I'm just gonna die. And you know, being in restrooms with cis men often, I think we all have been in an experience where we've just seen cis men just not wash their hands when they leave the bathroom.
I've seen them walk right past the sink and go straight out the door. And at first, I thought it was hot. The horny in me, right? I thought it was hot. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of sexy. Now I think it's the most disgusting thing you could possibly do.
Yucky. And I mean, even cis women too won't always wash their hands. I think just in general, we should always be washing our hands. I can't touch a doorknob like that I don't know. Like, just
not that I don't know. Like, not in my house.
Not in my house.
That doorknob don't belong to me. like
any doorknob not
said,
in my house.
Like Rogelio just said, they said, like my cough, Rogelio, I know you. I know that you are responsible and smart. Like you just mentioned, your parents are a priority. I don't know I was about to curse. I don't know these people out here in these streets. Like, I don't know these people.
But you know what? With the whole coughing, sneezing thing, like there are some things that people do just naturally, like COVID aside, that I just don't like. Like, if you know that you're in a group of people and you got that real hockey cough, you take that mess outside. Or when they
and then have the nerve,
sound like a motorboat. I'm like,
then have the nerve to look at everybody and be like, relax, it's not contagious.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Listen, sometimes you can't help when those coughs come on, okay? Sometimes it's out of your control, it's too late, and it's already coming, you know.
You can't,
play devil's advocate.
But once it's there and you know that it's that type of cough, excuse yourself. Don't
Yeah.
just sit there and continue this hawking cough. But I do want to switch gears just a little bit because we all work in sexual health. And as we know, even during the pandemic, we still had clients. Catch that. So there's a lot of talk about the reopening of cities and states where sexual health and the need for services is going to boom out of control. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you feel like you're prepared for that? And what type of conversations do you think that you're going to be having with clients moving forward?
I think that we're lucky enough to work for an organization that supports us in that process of getting ready for that influx of people that will be coming probably June 15th when everything opens back up fully again. But I definitely think that the conversation is going to be centered around, we'll still be having conversations as it pertains to COVID, but like you mentioned, COVID is an STD, right? So we'll be talking about the fact that we have a big syphilis and gonorrhea outbreak in LA. Like these are things that kind of went under the back burner while everyone was so focused on COVID because COVID was preventable as long as you wore a mask, right? And even people then were like, I don't want to wear this mask. Try going back to the conversation about condoms now. You know what I mean? Or preventative measures as it pertains to STDs. I think that I'm an advocate for us. I will complain for us till the cows come home. We have the short end of the stick because not only do we have to navigate the conversation about COVID to the best of our ability, because we're not COVID specialists. We're not Dr. Fauci. We have to somehow come to you about that one, but then also two, having a conversation about why it's burning and itching down there and back there. And it's going to be one of those things where I feel like we're going to be super duper swamped. I want to believe that we're going to do it with the friendliest smiles on our faces, but I know me. I got 3 people to ask me 3 dumb questions, and after that, it's angry Ty all day.
And Ty, you're moving in a whole new section because your promotion is it's outreach, but it's specific to our sexual health express clinic. So I can only imagine what that workload is going to be for you. Rogelio, what about you? Do you think that you're going to see an influx of trans clients as it pertains to them being more active sexually?
For sure. I think that it's going to be nice to just be able to reach a lot of the clients because I think it's been a bit of a challenge to reach certain populations in the trans community when everything is virtual because they may not necessarily know when they're available. They may not have a computer or even a phone that they can reliably use. So I think it would be good to bridge that gap for a lot of those clients who could only have seen us in person or could only do walk-ins before. And honestly, one of the things that I've been doing even as the pandemic has been going on is almost using COVID-19 as a way to relate to HIV in a way, be like, oh, they're both viruses. You have to test for both. Even though your test is negative, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have it because there's a period where you may have it, but still haven't had antibodies. So I've been kind of trying to draw a lot of those parallels between the two, just because, COVID is on everybody's mind. It's probably not going to leave the popular, discourse till 2030, to be honest. It's going to be on people's minds. So I think it's useful to kind of learn how we can use, things that we are constantly seeing in the headlines and then relate it back to sexual health. So I feel mostly prepared. I actually have my first in-person client next Friday. So I'm kind of scared to see how that's going to go. But I also just miss being able to connect with people because, you can connect with someone virtually and that's all good. But I think just that in-person connection with another person is so important, especially in our line of work where we talk about a lot of sensitive issues. And so I'm kind of looking forward to it, still very anxious. But, I think it's going to be, COVID is definitely going to be, in the conversations for years to come. So I think it's useful for all of us to learn how to incorporate that into our work.
And Kai, as we round out this main topic segment, what are your thoughts? I know, you and I work with the demographic of, Black and Latinx men who sleep with men, 18 to 29. How do you think our workload is going to increase?
I am hoping that we are seeing a lot more of these young men really starting to come and get an HIV test again, right? A lot of them is if they were taking COVID, I don't want to say if they were taking COVID seriously. If they were as cautious as I was during COVID-19, they weren't having sex with anyone. but they are going to want to go back and like start back on. Maybe they'll get back on PrEP, which we want everyone to do. But I also know that a lot of this is also going to be people now thinking, oh, I can finally go get tested. I've been sleeping around during COVID, or I'm even sleeping around. I've been having sex with other people during COVID, and I should probably go get an HIV test. I haven't done that in a while. I should probably get that STI test I haven't gotten in a while. And I actually agree with Helio. The way I know I'm going to talk about a lot of the conversation, especially with STIs, is in the same way as COVID, in that asymptomatic kind of compartment, right? We always talk about COVID. You don't even know sometimes you have it. You're asymptomatic. Same with gonorrhea. Same with chlamydia. And oftentimes, a large people who have gonorrhea and chlamydia have no idea. Most people, because they are asymptomatic. I think a lot of times with HIV, because of the stigma around it, people are really like, test HIV, 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 which yes, we want. But also test the other STIs too. They're asymptomatic. Just because you're not itching or burning doesn't mean you're not, spreading. Even spreading. I'm trying to be I'm not blaming anyone.
No, you're doing really, really well, actually. You are,
Right.
yeah.
It's a public health issue at the end of the day. That's why.
It's a public health, and they are, spreading the gonorrhea that they don't know they have, or the chlamydia they don't know they have. And so it's really, really important, I think, that we have these conversations, and also really let people know who are unsure about HIV. If you feel confident in the way the COVID-19 kind of science works, I always like to point out that science is based off a lot of stuff from HIV, right? A lot of the scientists who work specifically for HIV were part of this COVID-19 process.
I think Fauci was like the head HIV researcher at the CDC at one point. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, this science, if you can trust this science, let's also trust this HIV science. Now let's really take this seriously. We've ended a pandemic. We curbed a pandemic before. Let's do another one, right? Like, let's get HIV done, because HIV is a lot easier, right? It's not just from coughing. There's that have to happen. So yeah, that's for me. That's my thought process.
Well, I definitely want to thank all of you for contributing to that topic. I definitely want to say that if you are in need of an HIV test, if you need help with substance abuse, if you want to know anything about our services, please visit our website at the-link.la. We have several services that you can look into and take advantage of. Before we get into our commercial break, I just want to say, as we open up, the biggest thing that we all can do is be as safe as possible for ourselves. We cannot control how other people are going to, react to this opening of cities and states. We cannot control what, protective things other people are doing, but we can control what we do. And as all of you have said, washing your hands, sanitization, keep that 6 feet of distance. Okay, I mean, stay 6 feet away. Still wear the mask, still do all the things that we have been doing for the last year, because even though we are opening, and in my personal belief, we're doing it for economical reasons, COVID is still out there, as well as all of these other, STIs that we talked about, chlamydia, syphilis, herpes, HIV, all of it is still out there. But when we come back, we are going to square up with unpopular opinions right after this commercial message.
Hello everyone, this is your friend Roger Cediles from the Prevention Department at APLA Health, and I'm here today to tell you about all the programs under the substance abuse programs. They include the PariWise program, Project Impacto, and Project Impact. Our programs are designed to work with different individuals from our community, including but not limited to men who have sex with men who use crystal methamphetamine, also youth 18 to 29 who might be struggling with substance use or abuse, all open for HIV negative and HIV positive individuals. Our program's main goals are to reduce the number of HIV transmission and acquisition by keeping our program participants informed regardless of their intention to stop or not using drugs, making sure that they have the necessary tools to reduce their risk, from healthcare navigation that includes HIV STD testing, PrEP and PEP, to HIV medication, or referrals for drug treatment services, housing, mental health, and needle exchange services. We try to offer a safe space for young Latino, gay, and bisexual men ages 18 to 29 to learn about sexual health and relationships. We are able to provide virtual group sessions that educate on HIV and STDs, as well as other activities aimed to promote unity among this demographic. Our one-on-one sessions are designed for individuals seeking support in the areas of substance use and abuse and HIV prevention, and as I mentioned earlier, linkage to care for both newly diagnosed and out-of-care HIV-positive Latino young men who sleep with men. So if you or anyone you know could benefit from any of our programs, please reach out to me at 323-329-9908. Once again, it's 323-329-9908, or by email at rcediles@apla.org. Once again, that's R as in Robert, S as in Sam, E as in Edward, D as in David, ILES @apla.org. Thank you. Take care.
All right, and we are back. We are missing one of our members. Kai had a pre-existing engagement, so we want to wish him luck on that. But we're going to square up, honey, where we have unpopular opinions that we are not going to have to necessarily defend. We're just going to put it out there into the universe. And Ty, I want to start with you. What is your square up opinion for today? What unpopular opinion have you been given to the people?
So I'm going to piss a lot of dog lovers off with this. I don't want to touch your dog. When I am out hiking, when I am out at restaurants, when I am walking around, I don't want you to look at me to pet your dog. I don't know your dog. Your dog does not know me. Please do not put me in an uncomfortable position to have to reach down, oh, good boy, because he's already on my leg. That's one. And then two, people that shop at Trader Joe's shop way too close to me. We were just talking about distance. Do not reach over me to grab your batch of ice cream sandwiches because I am in your way. We are not family. We are not friends. Do not do that.
I am dying on the inside and on the outside.
It's how I feel.
I mean, look, it's your square up, honey. You give it out, you feel it. Rogelio, what about you? What's your unpopular opinion for the week?
For sure.
Or your unpopular feelings for the week?
For sure. Well, I think first of all, I would be remiss to not bring up what I mentioned earlier, actually, which is if you are one of those people who was the first to line up the minute that certain things reopen, then you're probably not being the safest. Just because, Newsom or whoever in power decided that, they're going to lift the restrictions a little bit, that doesn't mean that it's automatically safe for everybody to just go and that everybody can partake or should partake. I think it's interesting, or what Daniel mentioned, and important to remember for everybody, that a lot of the reasons why a lot of the efforts were made for COVID-19, a lot of it was sped up, was because of the economic impact. And I think we also have to talk about the fact that we cannot, I'm sorry, but it just pisses me off. We cannot let our country get away with this. We cannot let them get away with only giving us, less than $3,000 a piece, or no, a little over $3,000, $3,200 a piece in the worst economic crisis our country has seen in however long.
And so then not doing anything to bail out the people that we pay rent to, because that fell on us. They wanted their money. You gave us no money. And that's how I agree, Rogelio. I'm sorry. I do. I agree. Right. My soul.
No, yeah. And that's a good one. Because now I'm thinking about another unpopular opinion. Because
give it to us.
If you're a tenant, or not a tenant, but if you're a landowner, or what are they called? Landlord. Then I'm sorry, but I'm really struggling to have any bit of sympathy for you. Of course, landlords are human. Not all landlords have a lot of money. So, I'm not talking about those folks specifically. But if you had the disposable income to invest in a property where you're going to be making money off of an essential service like housing that is up and down depending on people's economic circumstances, then I'm sorry, but my sympathy isn't going to be extended to you so much, because a lot of people do not have that expendable income. A lot of people don't even have savings, let alone enough money to build a house in the hood and then, get a lot of people to live there knowing that it's, in a bad area like my landlords. So, shout out to them. Dana, I'm kidding. But yeah. Because I had to curse out my landlord when he came into my house trying to guilt us and tell us to do the right thing when we got our stimulus. I'm like, the right thing is to take care of ourselves and our families. I don't know.
Period.
It's not to foot your bills. It's not to pay for your
Period.
retirement fund.
If
I'm
it
sorry.
was for you, it would have come in your name, but it did
That
not.
part.
So
That part.
stay
So, yeah.
over there, girl.
Well, my unpopular opinion has to do with entitlement and time. If you ever come into my cubicle, you will see a nice little piece of paper that says, read your teleprompter, honey. And it tells people to really check in with folks before you just kind of rush into their space with what you have going on. And that goes for conversations, friends, family members. You know, we get those calls where people are, you know, they call you and they just want to dump on you. They haven't even checked in to see, hey, are you in a space to even hear me? Are you in a space to hold space for me? And I think so often we get entitled to people's time. We get entitled to thinking that whatever we have going on is the most important thing at the moment. And so I don't know if it's unpopular. It's just, it's a boundary, as Kai would say. I think that we need to properly set up boundaries to teach people that you are not entitled to my time, that you still have to check in with me and say, hey, are you available to talk right now? Are you available to hear my problems? Are you on the phone? Are you are you busy at this particular moment? And I think that we've gotten away from that courtesy and etiquette, in these, well, the older I get and the more seasoned I get, I feel like we've gotten away from that. Because those are not things that I did, growing up. Like, we had to ask people, like, are you available right now for me to talk to you? So that's my unpopular opinion. And folks, I just want to say thank you so much for watching the link. Because of you guys, we have been doing this show, I want to say a little over 6 months now.
Every day the same. Every day is the same to me. I don't know how long it's been.
Season 2 of The Link officially starts next week. We have a new promo that's going to be dropping for season 2. And of course, season 2 is going to be an amazing season. You're going to see a lot more faces in these little squares, honey. A lot more faces from our prevention department of APLA, because we want you to get accustomed to maybe one of us not always being here. We know that you love us. We know that we have wonderful synergy and energy, but we also want to make sure that we're shining light on other folks who have the personality and have the readiness and willingness to get in front of the people live and do what it is that we've been doing for the last 6 months. We love you. We're not going anywhere, but you definitely will see some new faces. Outside of that, make sure that you're tuning into Link every Tuesday at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. And if you have a problem catching us live, guess what? You can head over to YouTube and look up APLA Health Prevention. Go to our YouTube page and you can watch all of the shows that you have missed from The Link, as well as from The Plug, which is our programming that we have from our substance abuse program, Partywise. So make sure that you check out that. And as always, you can always visit www.the-link.la. Until next week, I am your favorite prevention training specialist, Daniel J. We got Ty, our coordinator of outreach. We got Helio, our coordinator for Trans Connections. And with that, we want to say later, y'all.
Bye. Stay away from me in Trader Joe's. Do not come near me.